My name is Beth. I'm the trainer for this 45-minute session, Making Friends with the Facebook Algorithm. I am a digital strategist slash trainer based in the Silver Spring, Maryland world. Usually, I live in airplanes and hotels, but at the moment, I am home with my shoes and my cats, and it feels weird because I haven't actually worn a pair of shoes in a couple of weeks. You know, we do what we have to do. I'm excited to be here. Usually this is an in-person conference that happens in New York City right around this time, but we make do with what we have to do. But it's been cool because we've been able to have people all over the world. I had somebody from South Africa in my 12 o'clock session. So this is exciting. And what we're going to talk about in this session is the Facebook algorithm. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about why it exists, why it's your friend, not your enemy. And then I'm going to talk about, well, what is it? What is it? How does it work? And then I'm going to share a couple of basic best practices as a result of that. And I'm going to give you a couple of different ways that you can think about in terms of how do you keep track of the changes. So I'm assuming that you're here because you work in digital, which means you probably know that Facebook does have an algorithm. But if you're like most people, you probably hate the algorithm. It's not uncommon for us to see headlines about organic reach is dropping and Facebook hates pages and da 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 da. Well, I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you'll realize that the algorithm is not your enemy. It really and truly is your friend. And so I'd like to introduce you to my best friend. His name is Fred. Isn't Fred cute? I made Fred in Canva. If you haven't already explored Canva, which is a graphic design suite, you should do so. Fred was the first graphic I ever made in Canva. Fred is the Facebook content concierge. Why do I call it the concierge? Why does the algorithm even exist? Hi, Alana. Didn't know you were coming in. Why does the algorithm even exist? Nope, I'm good. I'm good. I got the chat. Thanks. Bye. Why does the algorithm exist? So, Sabrina, I see your question. I will come back to that. The algorithm exists because if Facebook was going to show any one individual user all of the content from all of the Facebook friends and all of the pages that the user likes and all of the groups that the user belongs to, they would have to show the average Facebook user 1,500 pieces of content an hour. Anybody here have 1,500 hours? Think you can keep up with that? By the way, the average Facebook user has 125 friends, has liked 50 pages, and is a member of 12 Facebook groups. Anybody here average? I'm going to guess not. So multiply that out. It's too much content. So the algorithm was created to try and show people the content they want to see based on, and this is the important part to keep in mind, based on their own past behavior. What does that mean for us as content creators? It means that it is in Facebook's best interest for our content to perform well, to be shown to lots of people, to have lots of people engaging with it. Because if that doesn't happen, we stop creating content, people stop coming to Facebook to see that content. It's a chicken and an egg. So the first thing you need to understand is the algorithm isn't the enemy here. The enemy is your own best and worst practices. The enemy is not understanding how the algorithm works. It's not understanding your audience and what content they want to see and engage with. I can't make it any simpler than that. So if your content's not performing well, it's not because the algorithm hates you. It's probably because you don't quite understand the algorithm And more importantly, you don't understand your audience. And so you're not giving them the content they want. So how does this actually work? Well, you create your content and you hit send. Now, we're not talking about ads today. We're just talking about organic content, okay? You want the ads training, other people are doing that one. Once you hit send, it's all in the hands of the algorithm, Fred. I'm going to use the words algorithm, Fred, and Facebook interchangeably for the rest of this session, and the user logging into Facebook. Now, login on Facebook can mean one of three things. It either means they log in with their username and password. It could be that they open up the app on their phone. How many of us actually log out of the app when we close the app on our phone? We don't. So you open up the app on your phone, that's considered a fresh login. Or, you know how you're scrolling through Facebook for content, then you go back to the top and refresh it to get fresh content? That's a fresh login. Fresh login. I guess the screen is weird. You can't really see my fingers. That's okay. So, oh, I know how I can do this. Hold on. There we go. So what happens is, thanks, Dawn. What happens is the user logs into Facebook and the algorithm looks at all of the content it could potentially show to that user since the last time they logged in. That's called the inventory. That makes sense, right? And it takes that inventory and it assigns each piece of content in that inventory a score on a scale of 1 to 5. They call it the relevance score. 5 being high, 1 being low. Now, there's so much content in any one user's inventory that it's very rare for a person to see a piece of content that has scored less than a 3.5. But here's where it gets a little tricky. It could be, a piece of content could be a 2 for Sabrina, and a 4 for Ashley, and a 1 for Peter, and a 2 for Joel, and a 5 for Emily. You see where I'm going here? It's going to score differently for each person because that relevance score is based on hundreds of thousands of pieces of data. Some of that data we have access to through analytics and Facebook Insights. Most of that data we don't have access to, but Facebook has that data. Okay? Now, we don't know how much any one piece of data is worth. And part of the reason we don't know is that that value changes literally every second of every day based on user behavior all across the hundreds of millions of people that use Facebook. But we know some of this data, and we know it in one of two ways. Either they have told us through insights, or they make an announcement. We are prioritizing this, we are deprioritizing that. Or there are, wait for it, try to act surprised, Facebook groups with people like myself who specialize in social media, not just in politics, all across the globe. And somebody will post and say, hey, are you all seeing this trend in your data? And everybody looks at their data, and if everyone's seeing the same trend, at that point, we can make an assumption, and we do make an assumption about what the algorithm is prioritizing and deprioritizing. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. There's twice that we know of that we were right, that Facebook changed it just to mess with us. It happens. It's okay. But we don't know the exact weight. We don't know the exact value, and we don't need to because it changes too quickly. By the time we figured it out, it would change. Now, I need to give credit where credit is due because one of my big things about digital and social media is that we beg and borrow content, but we don't steal. So some of my presentation today has been borrowed with permission from a guy named Adam Mosseri. None of you have probably heard of Adam. Well, maybe you have, because Adam is now the guy in charge of Instagram. But before he was in charge of Instagram, he was the guy at Facebook who was in charge of the newsfeed algorithm. And he went around the country a few years ago doing briefings for political and digital folks. Well, it wasn't just political, so digital folks all over the country on how the algorithm works. And so some of what I'm going to teach you, I learned from him. And some of it is stuff that I've learned from other trainers, from reading, from experience, etc. But I wanted to give him credit where credit is due. So we know that the data the algorithm looks at falls into kind of four main buckets. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about each of those buckets, and then I'm going to share some of the best practices. You should ask your questions as I go. I reserve the right to do one of three things. I'll answer it right away in the moment. I'll ignore it because I know I'm going to get to it in a moment. Or I'll acknowledge it and tell you that I'm going to come back to it at the end. Because I want to make sure we get it through. Adam, you've seen this training so many times. But okay. Anyway, let's take it away, shall we? So the first bucket is who. Please, oh please, I'm begging you, please do not assume that who means page like, because it doesn't. It does not. Yes, what I'm saying about the algorithm is true for all posts. Who is not about page like. Who really means, does the person who just logged into Facebook have some sort of prior relationship with the person who created this content? And prior relationship doesn't mean page like. I'll give you an example. I have a Facebook page. Adam's a fan of my page. I post something. Adam likes it. Adam shares it. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that Adam and Emily are Facebook friends. Emily's not a fan of my Facebook page, but Emily sees Adam's post, and Emily comments on it. And because Emily commented on it, Emily's friend Peter, who's not a friend of Adam's and doesn't like my page, sees the post and likes the post. Is one post like enough to guarantee that the next time Peter logs in, he's going to see my content? No. One post like? No. But guess what? I'm now in Peter's inventory. And over time, that relationship builds. You got to show up to play the game, right? So now it's 2 weeks later, and Peter's friend Alfredo, who's a fan of my page, sees the post that I posted and shares it. And the post is about the same topic as the same post that Adam shared 2 weeks ago. Alfredo shares it. Alfredo's friend Jane sees it. Jane's not a fan of my page, but Jane shares it. Peter sees it because Jane and Peter are friends. Peter sees it, and this time Peter likes the post and comments on it. One post like, one comment, still not enough, most likely. But a week later, Peter's doing his work and he thought, oh, I have this question about social media and I keep seeing these posts from this page. I'm going to go to that page. I'm going to find that. I'm going to see if they have, and does a search and finds my page. You see what I'm saying here? It's not about page like. It can be about generational engagement. Okay? So who is not about page like? All of the rest of the things I'm about to talk about are what go into building that relationship. The second bucket is the when. I'm not sure what you mean by some kind of visual to represent what I just said. So then there's the when. How recently was that post posted? 6 seconds ago, 6 minutes, 6 hours, 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, 6 decades. Come on, y'all. There is no social media 6 decades ago. But the more recently something was posted, the more interesting it is. You know what? I don't have a flow chart, but you've now prompted me to think about how I might make one. So thank you for asking that. The answer at the moment is no. Stay tuned. Give me a couple of days. Let me figure that out. I'll post it on my Facebook page. See what I did there? No, I'm serious though. Don't have one, but it definitely, I think I can probably make one. It just will take me a couple of days to figure out how to make it. So, how recently was it posted? Right? The more recent, the more interesting. So let's just say, and not to pick on you, Adam, it's just that I know you, so I know you can take it. Let's just say that Adam and I post the exact same thing, and you are friends with both of us. Adam posted his 5 minutes ago. I posted mine 2 days ago. All other things being equal, which they never are. Charles just told me that I should answer chat questions and repeat them verbally, and he's right about that. Did I do that right just now, Charles? Thanks for the prompt. Good call. So Adam and I posted the same thing. He posted his 5 minutes ago. I posted mine 2 days ago. All other things being equal, you're more likely to see his than mine. But let's just say that in the last week, you've engaged with my content 20 times and you've engaged with Adam twice. Now you're probably more likely to see mine. But 50 of the friends that you have in common with Adam also engaged with his post. And only one other friend that you and I have in common engaged with my post. Probably it swings back to Adam now. It's all mix and match. There's no single thing that guarantees anybody's going to see your content, any one person. Now, when this content gets sorted, there's two reaction is not the word I'm looking for. I'll think of the word 20 years from now. But there's two things that result from that. The first one is that a piece of content gets what's called Newsfeed Priority. And that just means that the piece of content is going to show up in somebody's newsfeed or it isn't. The second thing is a piece of content can get Newsfeed Primacy. It's going to be the first thing somebody sees when they log into Facebook. There's only two ways to get primacy. The first way is Facebook Live, which comes back to the when. Why is Facebook Live so interesting that it gets primacy? Because it's happening now. You can't get more recent than now. Now, Facebook Live doesn't automatically get primacy. It gets primacy for the people it gets priority for. If somebody isn't likely to watch Facebook Live, it's not going to show up at the top of their screen. Right? So they have to get priority, and then within all the things that get priority, the live then gets primacy. The second way is going to be the last thing I'm going to talk about before we end the session. That's not clickbait. The third thing, the third bucket, is what kind of content is it? And there's actually 5 kinds of content on Facebook. There's plain text, there's image, there's link, there's video, and there's audio. Let's talk about all of those just briefly here. Plain text. People often say to me, but Beth, why would I do something that's plain text? How boring. Well, it's a strategic choice that we make, y'all. It's almost like a subliminal way of saying to people, what I need to say to you is so important that I don't want to distract you with an image or a video or a link. I just want you to read my words. It's a strategic choice. I have access to a lot of pages because I consult and I do research. And in the last 2.5 years, the 5 best performing posts across all the pages I have access to, all of them were plain text posts. And I'm convinced it's just because plain text says this is important. Just read what I'm saying. So that's plain text. Now, the question people always want to ask, so I'll just answer it for you right now. How long should your post be? Well, my real answer is it should be however long it needs to be for you to say what you need to say. Because my rule is if you have something to say, say it, and if you don't, shut up. But if you really care about characters, you have 420 characters before see more shows up, but only 0.000000, 6 zeros with a 3 at the end, percentage of people will ever click on see more. All of you just thought to yourselves, well, I click on see more all the time. Nobody in this training right now is the average Facebook user. We all work in digital. We all use digital as part of our jobs. The average users. Ed asked, plain text, black and white or highlighted with that colorful background? And the answer is both of those are considered plain text. The color for background goes behind the plain text to give it some extra pop. But that's still considered a plain text post by Facebook. Sabrina said, is color better? And my answer is going to be, it depends. Depends on the content. It's also a character count thing. If your post is longer than 72 characters, then you can't use the colorful background. That doesn't mean you shouldn't write 150 characters if what you need to say is 150 characters. Across all of Facebook, they will tell you that on average, the best performing plain text posts, not the best performing posts, but the best performing plain text posts are between 150 and 200 characters. But I stand by what I said before. If you have something to say, say it. If you don't, shh. If you have 300 characters that you need to write in order to say what you need to say, then you should use 300 characters. Eric asked, what's the percentage of people who click on see more? It's 0.000003. So it's 6 zeros and a 3. 0.000. All right. So that's plain text. Not very many, right? How many characters before see more comes up is 420 characters. Yes, they did that on purpose. If you don't know what the 420 joke means, 420 is lingo for pot, marijuana, Mary Jane, all those good things. So that's the plain text. Image posts. Couple things I'm going to say about image, and I'm not going to dig too deep just because I'm wary of the fact that we only have 45 minutes today. The more text on your image post, the less well it's going to perform, unless it's a meme. Memes with text on them perform well, but if you're going to do a meme, in the caption that goes with the post, you shouldn't have to write very much. If you have to explain your meme to me, your meme has not done its job. But if you have just an image of a person and you want to use a quote from them, we now have data that shows it's actually better to put that quote in the caption above the image and leave the image blank with just the picture. On my Facebook page, if you scroll back a couple weeks, or you can email me and I'll dig the link out for you. But there's lots of data out there now. But most recently, I think it was Buffer that posted, maybe it was HubSpot, one of the two, did some research about this on Facebook and Instagram. And they found that on average, images with text on them that weren't memes performed up to 28% worse than images without text. And when you're fighting for all that reach and engagement, 28% is a lot. Okay? The other thing you need to know is that 93% of the people who use Facebook do so on their mobile phones. So Facebook is now optimizing the way they display images in the newsfeed. So the aspect ratio has changed. Believe it or not, a vertical orientation now performs better than a horizontal orientation. And if you're doing an ad, and eventually this is going to happen in organic as well, which is why I'm mentioning this right now. It used to be that you had your image and you could have up to 7 lines of text that would show up. Now it's 3 lines because they're making the images bigger to optimize for the mobile newsfeed. Okay, so that's image. Then there's links. Vertical orientation is, so the image that you're seeing on the screen right now would be a horizontal orientation. And vertical would be if that was elongated, basically. Sabrina, I will come back to your question, okay? But I'll come back to yours at the end, if that's okay. So that's image. Video, or excuse me, links. So it used to be that Facebook didn't like links. That's very true. That's no longer the case. Facebook wants you to post the actual link. Now, when you type in the link into the caption, it's going to pull in what's called the thumbnail. It's going to pull in, let's see if the pointer works. No, it's not. Sorry about that. It's going to pull in the picture, the description, the headline. That's called the thumbnail. Once it pulls that in, you can go back into your caption and you can backspace and delete and erase where you typed the link. You do not need to have the link in your email in your post twice. Also, you should only put 1 link per post. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of organizations that have been putting 2 links per post, and people get confused. They don't know which link that you want them to click on. It's just like with email, right? So 1 link per post. Video, there's 2 kinds of video. There's live video, which we just talked about. And then there is what we call static video, or video that you've edited and put together in some way. Across all of Facebook, the average video view is 17 seconds. Across all of Facebook, the average Facebook live video is 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Does that mean people won't watch 30 seconds? No, it does not mean that. It does mean that you should front load your important information. You should front load your ask. And you should make that first 15 seconds super interesting, so people want to stick around. Now, here's the other thing about video, and this is not optional. You must caption your video. Captions are not optional. 1, it's about accessibility. Everyone in Organizing 2.0 calls themselves a progressive. We have to live our values, y'all. Accessibility. Also, most people will start to see your video without hearing it. Captions help them to understand what's going on in the video and can entice them to stick around and watch the whole video, or even to turn the sound on. So Sabrina just asked about embedding YouTube versus uploading direct. You absolutely do not want to post a YouTube link on Facebook unless you have to. If you have the option to upload the video directly, you should do so. The algorithm definitely prefers that because Facebook gives you that option. Somebody asked, Ariel asked, Facebook can add captioning. Yes, but caveat, It's glitchy at best. It's glitchy at best. So you want to make sure you go back, check the captions. Okay. Peter asked, what's the easiest way or tool for adding captions to a video? Oh, now I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's Rev, R-E-V. It might be rev.com. If you email me, I'll send you the link. Thank you. It is rev.com. They're great. I have a bunch of clients that use them. I think it's like $1 per 5-minute video or something like that. It's great. Somebody else I see just $1 a minute. That's what it is. Somebody just recommended amera.org, which I have not heard of. Yep, Jody, I just mentioned the Facebook caption option. There was another question up here for a minute ago. So Patty was basically saying that Facebook Live is your best choice. My answer is on Facebook Live sometimes not. What you should know is that Facebook Live will now caption live videos. It's glitchy. It's new. Anything new is always glitchy, but it's there. I've got to move on off a video or we're not going to get through everything. So if I see any other video questions, I will come back to them. Okay? Then there's audio. Now, right now, in order to do audio, did you know that you could do a Facebook Live and turn off the video part? And then what do you have? Audio, which means you have what? A podcast. And guess what? A couple months ago, Facebook announced that they are, in fact, building a podcast tool into Facebook. So those of you that went to my training 2 years ago and laughed at me when I predicted that, I was right. I like being right. Don't we all like being right? Yeah, right? Zachary, I'm going to come back to your question at the end because I want to keep moving, but I'll come back to your video, okay? Excuse me. The next bucket is engagement. Now, there's two kinds of engagement. There's positive engagement and negative engagement. And there's active and there's passive. Active engagement. Liking, commenting, sharing, clicking on a link, saving a post to come back to later. Right? Passive engagement. Stopping to watch the video. Stopping to read a plain text post. Positive versus negative. It's much easier for me to tell you what negative engagement is because everything else is positive. Negative engagement, report spam. That makes sense, right? No offense to my Hawaiian friends, but spam is not good. Patty asked, can you tell how many people read it? No, Facebook does not give us that number. They know, but they don't tell us. They do tell us how many people watch your video, though. The other kind of negative is hide post. Or is hide post actually always negative? Harry and Emily, I'm going to come back to your questions. Oh, we woke up the sassy. Hide post. Somebody clicks so that the post does not show up in their newsfeed anymore. If you're looking at the image on the screen, in the top right, you see a little gray arrow. If somebody were to click on that little gray arrow, one of the options would be to hide post. Now, hide post is not always negative. Let me talk about nuance in the algorithm for just a moment, okay? Then I'm going to answer those questions real quick, and then I got to get to best practices. We have 10 minutes. Oh, my goodness. I knew 45 minutes wasn't enough for this training. So when Adam did this training a few years ago, he said this. He said that they noticed an anomaly in their data. They noticed that 0.000000000, that's 9 zeros with a 5 at the end, percentage of people they discovered that 0.9 zeros with a 5 at the end, percent of people on Facebook were hiding every single post they saw. Now, when he said that, I laughed. And I laughed because I'm one of those people. And he said they couldn't figure out what that was all about. So they did some surveys. And here's what they found. You know, on email, you look at your email inbox and the emails you haven't read yet are either bold or you mark something as mark read and then it becomes unbold, or you actually open it up and read it, right? But there's no way to do that on Facebook. Or is there? See, a few years ago, I noticed that in some ways I'm very patient. In other ways, I'm not very patient, Sassy, who's trying to eat my knee brace right now. I discovered that I got really tired of seeing the same post every time I see it. And Harsha, I'll address your concern in just a few minutes here. I'll come back to that at the end. There's a reason it doesn't. I discovered I'm not as patient when I log into Facebook and see the same post that I saw the day before or an hour before. So I discovered that if I click hide post, not hide poster, hide post, that Facebook won't show me that same post again and again and again. But when I hide post, I'm not saying the post is bad. I'm just saying I don't need to see it again. So when those people that hide every single post were called power hiders, hide your post, it's not negative feedback. It's neutral feedback. It doesn't help you with the algorithm, but it also doesn't hurt you. So I want to go back to let's call these questions, and I'm going to do the best practices rather quickly. Zachary said, I have trouble sharing Facebook videos to people's posts. Can I get previews icons embedded into my hyperlink when I respond to posts with video? I'm not 100% sure what your question is. Can you rewrite that and maybe be a little more specific? It's not parsing in my brain for some reason. So let me come back to that. Harry asked, what is reach? Reach is the number of unique individuals that were shown a piece of content. It doesn't mean they actually saw it. It just means it showed up in their newsfeed. Emily asked, do video views stats count people who scrolled by? Yes and no. A video view is counted as 3 seconds of viewing. Why 3 seconds? Because the data shows on average it takes 2.79 seconds to scroll completely past. So 3 seconds indicates some level of intentionality in watching the video. So if somebody just scrolls on by without stopping to look at it, then no, that does not count as a video view. Does it impact the relationship itself? You mean hiding a post? It only impacts the relationship if you do it once in a while. If you hide every single post, it's being read as neutral engagement, so it does not hurt the relationship, but it also doesn't help the relationship. Yes, Ashley asked if you'll have access to the recording when this is over. Yes. Emily asked, does engaging with followers in the comments section help expand reach? Ask me that in 2 months. We are doing that research right now, and I'll have an answer for you in 2 months. Zachary rephrased his question. When you paste a hyperlink into a Facebook comment, it doesn't include a visual preview of the video, only the blue hyperlink, which isn't enticing for people to click the link. That goes back and forth. It used to show you a preview, and now it doesn't. It's a beta test, I'm told. So stick with it. They might change that back again, but you can't control it. Kareem asked, how do we build relationships with potential viewers? Is it engagement on their pages, interactions on independent pages, or engagement with our own content? Honestly, it's all of the above. That's a much more complicated question than I have time for this very moment. Email me. Let's have that conversation. Ashley's asking, I've heard adding GIF comments boosts posts. Not necessarily. Comments in and of itself help posts, but the kind of comment does not. Keep the questions coming. I'm going to move into best practices because I have 4 best practices I want to talk about, and we only have 5 minutes left. Okay. And if I don't get to your question, let me just say this now. Again, my email address is beth@beckerdigitalstrategies.com. You're welcome to email me anytime you want with questions. I also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Becker Digital Strategies. What a surprise. And some of you were asking earlier about how do you keep up with the changes to Facebook algorithm. I post them all on my Facebook page. No, Eileen said wasn't there a fifth element to the algorithm? She only got 4. There's 4. Who, when, what kind engagement. Sabrina, I don't have enough time to even answer that question in full. Sabrina said, since negative boosts more than positive in many cases, what tone is best for Facebook? Oh my God, I don't have enough time to answer that other than to say the algorithm does not pay attention to sentiment analysis. So positive and negative has nothing to do with the algorithm. It's about your audience. All right, I've got to do best practices because there's some really important ones I want to make sure we talk about. The first one is engagement baiting. Asking for likes, comments, and shares. Don't do it. Explicitly saying, like this post, share this post, comment on this post. Don't do it. Facebook data shows that when you ask for engagement, people don't engage. And it makes sense. If I say to you, will you like this post? Aren't I subliminally saying to you, I don't actually think you'll like this post unless I ask you to because I don't actually think it's that good? Yeah. So explicitly asking for engagement is called engagement baiting. And Facebook has announced this yearly for the last 8 years. How do I know they've announced it? Because they make a post about it on the Facebook news blog that they have. Say no to clickbait. Earlier, I said to you, that's not clickbait. Why is clickbait bad? Right? Well, first of all, what is clickbait? This cartoon explains it. You think rubbing stick together sounds stupid? What happens next will blow your mind. And then you click on the link, and it's boring, right? That's clickbait. Data shows people don't like clickbait. It annoys them. Adam asked, how does engagement baiting apply to, for example, I'm asking for advice or please send me your recommendations without using the recommendations feature? Asking for advice, the word advice is not considered engagement baiting. Please send me your recommendations is going to trigger the recommendations feature. It's actually asking for engagement, asking for comments, likes, and shares. Oh my God, I have 1 minute. I have 1 minute. Rishi asked, aren't hive mind posts the kind of requests for engagement that often do quite well? Yes and no. Data shows they actually don't perform as well as people think they do. It just feels like they do. I'm going to skip the rest of the best practices. I think it's more important to answer your questions. In the slide deck, though, will be the best practices. Patty asked, if campaigning for a person can't invite them, I can go over till 2:58. Okay, I will do that, Frangie. I hope I pronounced your name right. So if campaigning for a person can't invite them to like the page of that candidate. Oh, Charles, don't be shaming me. Patty asks, so if campaigning for a person can't invite them to like the page of that candidate. I mean, you can ask them to like the page, but liking a page doesn't actually help you that much. It's about getting them to engage with your content. Sabrina says best practices super quick. Yes, but I want to finish these couple questions that I've got right here. Caitlin asked, does read more consider as clickbait? Yes. Asking people to click on your link is read more here that is considered to be clickbait. No, I'm sorry, not clickbait, engagement bait. Read more is not clickbait. Clickbait is, I went to a bar last night. You're not going to believe what I saw. And then you click on the link. And when you get to the link, I say, a bottle of beer sitting on a table. So how does Facebook know it was clickbait? Because they track a metric called click gap. How long between when somebody clicked away onto your link and they came back to Facebook. The shorter the click gap, the more likely the piece of content was clickbait. And then Heather asked, what does hive mind post? Hive mind post is something that might say, hey, Facebook hive mind, I just moved to Silver Spring and I need to find a new hairdresser. Can you recommend one? Or, hey, hive mind, what are your favorite Instapot recipes? I just got a new Instapot. So hive mind is basically saying, you all are my beehive, and I want to pick your minds. Mark says, can everyone please stop asking questions so she can get through best practices? How about this? I'm going to finish the best practices. You keep asking your questions. I'm going to ignore them to get through the best practices, and then I'll come back to the questions. How's that for fair? Does that work? Okay. Next best practice. There's actually only 2 left. This is my favorite GIF in the entire planet. It's pronounced GIF, not GIF. The guy who created them is wrong. GIF is peanut butter. Reactions, right? There's liking a post, and then there's love, ha ha, wow, sad, angry. Hypothetically speaking, if somebody liking your post is worth 1 in the algorithm, all the rest of those reactions are worth 1.5. Now, we don't actually know that they're worth 1 or 1.5. I'm saying hypothetically on the weight numbers, but we do know that other reactions are worth more than a like. Why? Because only 28% of Facebook users use reactions on a regular basis. So when somebody uses a reaction, they spent more time and energy thinking about which one to use. And you get rewarded that they spent that time and energy to do so. And last best practice, but not least, how many of you have ever heard the phrase news baiting? How about newsjacking? Newsjacking is the idea that something happens in the world and you latch onto it and try to make it relevant to yourself. It's hijacking the news for your own benefit. Okay? I promised you at the beginning of this session that there were 2 ways to get Newsfeed Priority, and I told you the first one was live. The second one is if you newsjack, but there's a good newsjack and a bad newsjack. And even though even a bad newsjack will get you priority, I still say don't do it. People will ridicule you for it. And just because they're saying bad things about you and talking about you, that does not mean it's a good thing they're talking about you. Okay? So let me show you some examples. I have new examples for those of you who've ever seen this slide deck before. Sears. Did Hurricane Sandy affect your city? Get your generators, air mattresses, and more in one place. How tacky is that? Yeah, yikes. Noah says yikes. I'm with you on that. Oh, yeah. Lots of crazy newsjacking going on around COVID. That's bad newsjacking. It's tacky. It's rude. It's obnoxious. It's offensive to people. All right, so what's a good example of a newsjack? Clifton Springs Library. Baby Yoda has a library card. Do you? I fucking love this post. That's right. This was posted while everybody was talking about The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. By the way, that's not actually Baby Yoda because The Mandalorian takes place before Star Wars. I mean, after Star Wars. But it's a descendant, right? It's like a great-great-grandchild or something. But nonetheless, that is good hijacking, right? It's relevant. It's not news, but it's what's trending. Everyone's talking about Baby Yoda. And in the world of social media, when everybody's talking about something in the social media world, that's considered news, Peter. So, here's my favorite example of great trendjacking / newsjacking. In hashtags, which are just search queries, right? Capitalization doesn't matter. Okay? So, for example, when Margaret Thatcher died, the hashtag was hashtag Thatcher is dead. But some people capitalized that differently. And the same day, Cher had to tweet and say, I am not dead. Because some people were tweeting hashtag that Cher is dead. Capitalization matters. It's called camel case because the capital letters form the camel hump. Okay? Regardless of that capitalization, though, if somebody clicks on it, it's going to take them to the same search query, to the same results. Okay. So a few years ago, Google published a thing on a blog post somewhere that they noticed that in January and early February of every year, people were doing a search for the Super Bowl. Makes sense. Biggest football game of the year, right? However, some people were capitalizing it a little weird. And the National Audubon Society happened to see that blog post. And thus was born Superb Owl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday, Superb Owl Sunday. Same search query, different capitalization. And now every year, if you click on Super Bowl Sunday, you're going to see a fuck ton of owls in your newsfeed. That is great newsjacking. And that is the last slide. So I want to go back and answer some of the questions that came in after we went to the best practices. I want to briefly say, someone said that they wished a lot of what I was saying was in my slides. And I'm going to be honest and tell you that it's not on purpose. Number one, slides that are all words are really boring for trainees. And it's distracting because people spend all their time reading the slide and they don't hear what you're saying. It's also a personal choice I make as a trainer because the truth of the matter is a lot of what I teach, if you don't hear me explain it, it's not going to make any sense if you just read it on a page. So I am very happy to share my slide deck with anybody who's come to this training. Again, my email address, I'll type it in again, is beth@beckerdigitalstrategies.com. Just email me, I'll send it to you. The recording of this webinar is something that Organizing 2.0 will be posting at some point. But somebody who hasn't heard me talk about this isn't going to read what I said and understand it. So I don't put a lot of words on my slides. So that answers that question. I'm going to scroll back here and see. All right, so we did hive mind. We did read more. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this name. I apologize. Is it Shenika? Shanika? I apologize. Could you talk about if there is a specific time to post? I've heard people saying there is the golden time to post. No, I don't believe that there is a golden time to post. I could post right now. If you don't log into Facebook till tomorrow, you're not going to see my post until tomorrow. I'm going to be included in your inventory. And if all of the pieces of data line up correctly, you're still going to see my post. Okay? So my rule is, if you have something to say, say it. And if you don't, shh. There is no best time to post. The best time to post is when you have something to say. Franji asked, wait, if you write a post that leads people to a survey, is that clickbait? It's not clickbait if in the description that got them to click on it, you were clear that you're asking them to take a survey. Clickbait is content that you hype something and then it doesn't live up to the hype. If I had said to you, I'm going to give you 2 ways to get priority, and I only gave you one, or primacy, sorry, and I only gave you one, you'd be pretty annoyed with me right now, right? That's clickbait. So there's nothing wrong with having people take a survey. Just make sure you know that you want them to take a survey. Patty says, someone said people read the most on Sundays. I'm going to tell you the truth. That's not true. But even more importantly, right now, we are all at home 24/7, 365 days. There is no best time. Also, if you look at some of the graphs that come out about what time of day people are online, 24/7, literally. People can't sleep right now, y'all. There is no best time. Christina asked, is there such a thing as posting too much? Yes and no. Posting too much would be defined by your own audience. So you need to figure out how many posts a week you can get away with your audience. Emily asked, are the words check out or check this out considered engagement baiting? Yes, they are considered engagement baiting. Ariel asked, how do I feel about scheduling content? Like, how far in advance? I don't have a problem with scheduling content. Somebody asked me earlier about scheduling content using a third-party tool, and my answer is don't. Schedule it right in Facebook. That's why they gave you that tool. Did you know that you can now schedule posts in Facebook groups as well? If you didn't, you can. So I don't like to use a third-party tool to schedule my posts. I only schedule right in Facebook. You can schedule up to a year in advance, but there's one rule. If you're going to schedule content and something happens in the world and your post isn't available or appropriate, you should go back and unschedule that content. Okay? Laura, hi Laura. Is there non-clickbait language we can use if we want people to complete a digital action? Sign the petition? RSVP to this event? But liking, commenting, sharing, right, is engagement baiting. Take action is good, Laura. Yes. Christina, why not third party? Does Facebook like it more if you use their scheduler? Yes, and here's why. If you're using a third party tool, it means that your eyeballs aren't on Facebook, which means you're not seeing the ads. It's that simple. I've got to go. It's 2:59. Last question. Laurel, is spread the word engagement baiting? Yes, that is definitely engagement baiting. They consider that to be similar to the word share. You all asked some great questions. This was a lot of fun. I'm sorry there was only 45 minutes. I didn't get to pick the time. Email me for the slide deck. Email me with questions. Keep in touch. I'm going to be around all weekend. If you go to the People tab on the Organizing 2.0 thing, you can find me. You can send me a message. I will answer you. We can chat. Okay?